everyone, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 12 where I'm going to be sharing some of my favourite romance book covers. Now if you've watched the first favourite covers video that I uploaded last week, you'll know that I am talking about books that I have read this year, so they might have been published earlier, but if I've read them for the first time this year, I'm counting them. There might be one outlier and that's because I acquired the book this year, but everything else I'm pretty sure I've read in 2020. These are in no particular order. So the first one is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. It is an illustrated cover, it is gorgeous. This is a contemporary romance book about a wedding planner who was left at the altar, who ends up having to work in a team with her former fiance's brother, who was the best man at her wedding and apparently the reason why her fiancé left her at the altar. It was a delightful story, and unlike most of the illustrated romance book covers, I actually think this cover is fairly accurate. It gives you a good understanding of the tone of this story, which is really fun. I just love it, and also the colours are gorgeous. Then there is My Darling Duke by Stacy Reid, which I love because of the gorgeous purple cover. It is amazing. I wish that this had a step back, but it doesn't. But the cover is just stunning regardless. This is the story of Catherine Danvers, who is a wallflower, whose family is on the brink of financial ruin. And so she pretends to be the fiancé of a reclusive duke who no one has seen for a very long time. Then the duke hears about this fake engagement and their paths cross and the story goes from there. And it was delightful. I have Managed by Kristen Callihan. I just like this because of the colours. This is a contemporary romance. It is a grumpy sunshine romance because we follow Gabriel Scott, who is the manager of a band and he is known for being an absolute hard ass. And while on a plane flight, he meets Sophie, who happens to be sitting next to him, which is an issue all on its own. Eventually the two begin working with one another and it is their romance. It is very, very slow burn and very good, but just look at these gorgeous colours on the cover. The next two books are part of the same series, and that is the Phenomenal Fates series by Tessa Bailey. This includes This Time Tomorrow and Reborn Yesterday. These are contemporary paranormal romance books with beautiful covers. These are stories that feature vampires, but they are set in a more modern time period. But what I really, really love is the look of these covers, which don't scream paranormal romance at all. They're just visually very beautiful to look at. Next up I have another illustrated cover, and that is Beach Read by Amalie Henry, which is, depending on who you talk to, a romance or something that's more a cross between romance and literary. And honestly, it doesn't bother me. I consider it a romance and I really enjoyed it. I do really like this cover. I think it's summery and bright. Only problem is that it probably doesn't quite match the interior content of the book because the book is not quite as bright and cheery as this cover would lead you to believe, but I still really like the cover. I have the Stay a Spell books by Juliette Cross. I bought these books because I do really adore these covers. So you have Wolf Gone Wild and Don't Hex and Drive. These are paranormal romance books. They are very rom-com-y in the tone of the story. The first book features a romance between a wolf and a witch, and the second book has a relationship between a witch and a vampire. But the covers are just so beautiful to look at. I love all the symbolism in them. They're gorgeous, and even the texture of these books are amazing. I have another historical romance, The Duchess Deal by Tessa. Now I know this one was not released recently, but I only read it for the first time this year and I love this one. It is my favourite of the 3 books out so far, but I can't wait to see the cover of The Bride Bet. But yes, very, very pretty. Next up I have a stack of Sierra Simone books because this was the year that I read her new Camelot series. So there is American Queen, which, just look at it, it's gorgeous. American Prince, American King, and then 2 novellas that take place within the same universe. You have American Squire and Cards of Love. I just like the simplicity of them. I mean, American Queen is just a really eye-catching cover to begin with. The main trilogy are an MMF menage relationship between the president, his wife, and the president's best friend, and they all have a long entwined history. It is truly a really wonderful series, but you kind of have to read it to believe it. Then I have Let Us Dream by Alyssa Cole, which is a historical romance set in 1917 Harlem, where we follow cabaret owner Bertha, who is using her powers of persuasion to convince men to vote for the right for women to have the vote. And it is her relationship with the cook that comes to work for her cabaret. I just really love the cover on this one. It's just beautiful and stunning, and it makes you want to really look closely at what's happening in the picture, but it just also gives off those feels of the early 1900s. I love it. Then we have the Hidden Legacy books by Ilona Andrews. I read 2 of these books for the first time in 2020. So I read Diamond Fire, which is the novella, and I love the colours on this, and also Emerald Blaze, which was the 2020 release, and I love the green cover. So these are Catalina's books. They are paranormal romance books slash urban fantasy, but there is a romance now in Emerald Blaze, so I can include it. They are just so pretty to look at. And Catalina's books are my favourite in the Hidden Legacy series. I also really like the Naughty Brits cover. This is an anthology featuring Sarah McLean, Sophie Jordan, Louisa Edwards, Tessa Grattan and Sierra Simone. I love the flag in the background and the black and white guy in the front. I just think it's very striking. Another cover that I really liked was Queen Takes Rose by Katee Robert. This is the 6th book in the Wicked Villains series. What I really like about all the covers in this series are the symbolism that's hidden inside the cover that matches the part of the story and the characters and sort of the traits that we've come to associate with them. Queen Takes Rose incorporates obviously the rose from Aurora's story, the crown from Malone's, and the whole thing just is very visually appealing. I also like the way that the title words are reflected above and below. I just really like this cover. I also want to mention Firelight by Kristen Callihan, which is the first book in the Darkest London series. I have the UK cover on my Kindle, which is the woman looking up at an upside down city, and I love it. I just think it looks really visually stunning. It wouldn't be a video for the second half of this year without me mentioning the Green Creek series by TJ Klune. I have read Wolfsong and Ravensong, which are books 1 and 2. These covers are really quite simple. They're dark covers with paw prints or animal reflections on them to symbolize the story. But I suppose I really want to highlight Ravensong because when you look at it, it has 2 symbols on it for the 2 main characters. So you have the shadow of the raven and you also have the paw print. And I love how the paw print is dragging down and you can see the claw marks going down the book. I just think that's really clever. And I think the covers of the books really suit the stories. And then finally, I want to share Archangel's Son by Nalini Singh. I love the UK covers of the Guild Hunters books. I think they're beautiful, but this one is just absolutely gorgeous. I love the black and white with the hints of colour. I just think it really makes the book stand out. Alright, so those are some of my favourite romance book covers from 2020. In the comments below, feel free to share some of the romance book covers that you think are really great as well. I would love to know what your favourites are. Today's shout out is Heather from Here Booktubes. She is another romance booktuber and I really love watching the videos on her channels because she is the queen of romance recommendation videos. I almost feel like it's every day or every other day that I see a video from her with a theme or a topic or a trope that she has recommendations for. She is absolutely amazing and I love watching her videos because she also talks quite a bit about authors and books that I haven't heard of. So I will leave her channel linked down below so that you can check her out. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are staying safe and healthy, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye everyone.